Okay, I will introduce, starting from our left, Sílvia Mur. It's organizer at AdaJS and developer at Typeform. So welcome, Sílvia. She will be talking about Meteor, but as Meteor is a little bit outside this debate, okay, because it's, as you all know, it's a platform, actually. Okay, it's not, they are not naming itself as a framework, but as a platform. It can work with Angular and React as well, okay, for doing the backend and the frontend at the same time, okay. But actually, she has worked with Angular, and in Typeform, she's working with React and Redux, so she's a very experienced person for this debate, okay. So next one is Raul Jimenez. He's a Google developer expert and CEO of Byte Default. Okay, she will be speaking about. He will be defending. Sorry, he will be defending Angular, and that's it. The next one is Philip Smedt. I named it correctly.
First and last.
He will be defending Ember. Yes. And he's the CTO of Intuo, which is a platform for HR teams. If I'm correct, yeah. And the last one is Pau Ramon. He's the CTO of Factorial. That is started from here, itnig. And
it's also HR.
Like HR, yeah.
We're not competitors.
Okay. Okay, we're switching to HR platforms. Yeah. Okay, so
the next one is going to be HR debate.
And he will be defending React.js. So, okay, welcome everybody. So first of all, we are going to start with a round. We are going reverse way, I think, now, and you have a maximum of 5 minutes. I think 5 minutes is too long, actually, so don't worry if you do not feel that, but I will stop you at 5 minutes to talk about these pros and cons of the framework that they are defending and why you choose them.
Okay, that's fair. So, as you said, I'm Pau, and my experience with front-end development comes from the very beginning with jQuery. Then I jumped into the wagon of Backbone, and actually we did an event in this very room. It was a framework debate, and I had to defend Backbone, which probably if I see the video right now, it would be a little bit embarrassing, but it's fine. And I guess it's going to be the same when I see the video about React today, but it's fine. I say this as a disclaimer. So basically, I was CTO before at Redbooth, before starting Factorial, and we had a huge code base with Backbone and Marionette, and it was really really painful to deal with state, basically. And when React started to become more prominent, the thing that for me it was more obvious and it was enlightening, it was the unidirectional flow. So basically, the fact that you have to only declare how the views have to render the content, and then you can deal with the content, and then automatically the views get rendered. So this for me was amazing. And the fact that it was only state and components, the composability, it was really good. That being said, I'm not going to defend React over the other frameworks. I think it's quite good that there are many frameworks, so all the frameworks learn from each other and also compete about each other. But if all of you would use React, it would be amazing, because then I don't have to change framework in 4 years like happened with Backbone. So, so that's my second point is when starting in Factorial, so obviously we had to decide the stack. And it's always the same, like, do I go hipster and I choose something like Vue.js or like Elm or whatever? Or do I want to use something I know or something in between? So looking at all the profiles of people that I wanted to hire, or like more or less about the community, I decided that React had the most or like the biggest pool of people that wanted to work with it. And that was one of the decisions that I took. It was to use React because I thought the pool of candidates, if I had to assemble a team for front-end development, would be bigger. So I wouldn't say all the pros and cons have to be on the technical side. I actually think all the frameworks exposed today, none of them give you a competitive advantage. Like, oh, if you use Angular or Ember or React, you're going to be like 10x. So in this sense, I decided more about React because it was the most popular at the moment. Okay. I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, Philip, can you talk a little bit about Ember and pros and cons?
Yeah, definitely. So I really like what Pau said, by the way.
Thank you.
Because I was just 10 minutes ago.
You're not going to fight. We're going to start drinking beer.
That's a good idea, actually.
10 minutes ago, I was just talking to a friend, and he said, I really hope this doesn't turn into like a front-end flame war. So I was like, well, let's see. But I brought my list of notes of the pros of Ember. But first, I think if you talk about, let's say, the big three, Angular, React, Ember, we're like the ugly little brother, maybe. Because no one really likes to use Ember if you talk to them. Like, a lot of people don't even or haven't even looked into Ember, and I think that's quite a shame because even though it might not be that popular, it's backed by a lot of great companies, especially in the US. So if you look at Yahoo, LinkedIn, they use Ember a lot. In fact, if you right now go to the mobile side of LinkedIn, it's completely written in Ember. All these nice and quirky animations, they're in Ember. Something that people probably don't know is also Apple Music. Apple Music apparently completely written in Ember. Even though it's a desktop app, it's probably a wrapper around an Ember app. So I thought that was pretty cool. So even though it's not a big household name such as Facebook and Google, yeah, Ember has decent backing by companies, and I think that should not be forgotten. So next time you open up Twitch, for instance, are there gamers here? If there are, Twitch is completely written in Ember as well. Anyway, I'm going to shut up about the companies using Ember now and going into the real pros. We use Ember as well, by the way.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah, and we're hiring. But I think the biggest pro for me in Ember is a concept people call in the industry convention over configuration. I compare Ember a lot to Rails in the sense that it just works out of the box. It comes with build tools, it comes with HTTP mocking, it comes with a development server. It's got everything you need, basically. You're up and running in a day, few days, maybe. In comparison to maybe something like React, you have to choose your own whole stack, like front-end stack. Then, I mean, you have to choose Redux. You can plug it into an existing application, fair enough, but then you have to use Redux, Redux Saga, whatever you want to use, which is also very powerful. But I don't think these, let's say, architectural decisions should be left up to people wanting to use a framework. But that's, like, obviously everything that's going to be said here tonight is an opinion, and that's my opinion around that. Another really strong point, I think, with Ember are the releases and the release cycle. So every 6 weeks, Ember does a release. So whether or not there have been big improvements, after 6 weeks, it goes up into a minor version. So they use semantic versioning. So now we're at 2.10, sorry. In 6 weeks, we're going to 2.11. Whether or not there have been significant features built or whatever, it's just going to be that. Next to that, they also do LTS releases. So if you're familiar with Unix, like Ubuntu, Linux, they do that a lot. So LTS means long-term support, by the way. So if you use Ember 2.8 right now it is, they will still release security updates for another, I think, 18 months it is. So there's no JavaScript fatigue, as in the sense that you don't have to upgrade if you don't want to. And the Ember core team really thinks of it as a long-term project, and it's really open source. They really work together. They publish RFCs, like, you know, requests. If someone wants to build a new feature, they really discuss this as a team. Where I think, if you look at React or Angular, it's more driven from a company point of view. From Facebook, if Facebook says, we need to build this and we need to change it, it's going to be changed.
Yeah, actually, in these front-end frameworks, the exception is Ember. I mean, and the front-end part, because we were talking before about it, but we are almost discussing about Google or Facebook. Okay, because one is Facebook driven, the other is Google.
Or Yehuda. No?
Well,
Ember, it's backed by a company actually, but it's not Facebook or Google.
In fact, Ember was a hard fork of Sprout Core, and Sprout Core was developed by Apple in-house as a front-end framework, but that's like 6 years ago, like when they forked. But still, there's not really a driving force, let's say, behind Ember as a framework. So I think that's actually a pro. But yeah, I've got some other things, but these are the most important ones.
Yeah, I'm realizing we're not talking about the cons. We're just saying the good things about it.
But I have questions for this after this. Okay, this is not an interview. I want you to throw bad things against the others, but let's give some space now. Okay, so Raul, can you talk us about Angular and that word?
Yeah. Well, I've been using Angular for the last, 5 years, something like that. So I have a lot of experience with Angular. Before that, I was an ActionScript developer, so I worked with Flash. Yeah. With Flash, Actually, that was a good thing at that time, because the good thing about Flash is that they use ECMAScript. And it was, I worked with Flash for, 10, 12 years, a lot of time. And the good thing is that I really had a good understanding about all the prototype and how ECMAScript works under below, And when Flash, just was deprecated, because that was it. It was that. It was deprecated. I started looking to a new framework. And back in that time, it was Ember. It was Ember 1.3, something like that. It was also Backbone, back in the time too. And it was the early versions of Angular. And I really, I've done, these pet projects with 3 frameworks. And back in the time, I just choose Angular because the template framework was very friendly for me. And it was very familiar for me too, for my background in Flash, and because I worked also with Flex. So I said, okay, I can maybe do something like what I've done to create custom elements, custom tags in JavaScript. So that was super friendly for me. So I think that this is something that usually happens with developers. When you approach to a new technology, you usually start working with the technology that it's more friendly for you, right?
Absolutely.
And actually, right now, Angular has been evolved a lot. Angular 2 is, a big step forward.
Yeah, it's a big change.
It's a big change.
I will ask you about this.
It's a big change, yeah, obviously. It's a big change, but if you see how the framework works, it is basically the same thing. Obviously, you can't just port an Angular 1.x application to Angular 2.x because it's going to be a pain in the ass. We know that thing, that's obviously. But the good thing is that the knowledge that you have learned on Angular 1, it's completely useful in Angular 2. So that's a very good thing.
Okay. I think actually the names of the things on Angular 2 and Angular 1 to Angular 2 have changed a lot.
Not that much. All the directives, it's basically have the same names. You just, it's just how you write these things. But when you learn, when you have learned the how it works, which is super easy because the new templating framework, it's super easy to learn. It doesn't have all the drawbacks and all the traps that you can find in Angular 1. When you learn that thing, that it can, cost you like one morning studying how the templating framework works, then it's done. You can just understand how Angular 2 works, super easy. And on the other hand, another thing of that it's super powerful in Angular 2 that I really like it. It's something that it's being mimicked by the Ember team, actually, which is the Angular CLI.
No, I like this. I like this.
And back in that time, I really liked the work that Ember have done with the CLI. Now I think that it's super powerful. I really wish that Angular will have right now the Ember CLI because it's awesome. But the Angular CLI, it's improving every day. Every day it's even better. And I think that eventually the Angular CLI is going to be really, really good. As good maybe as the Ember.
If I'm not mistaken, Angular CLI uses Ember CLI under the hood, no?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to blame you. And
they are migrating.
At the same time, Ember CLI is based on Broccoli, which is like
exactly.
pipeline,
Exactly.
but still.
In any way, I mean, they are moving also to Webpack.
Okay. Yeah.
So you can use the Broccoli version and the Webpack version. I think that right now the Webpack version is kind of more popular. I'm using the Webpack version of the Angular CLI, and I think that on the final release, all the Broccoli stuff is going to be removed, and they are going to embrace Webpack for the win. And and another thing that it's also super powerful in Angular 2 that it's only available in Angular 2. The other frameworks doesn't have this feature. Is the ahead of time compilation. Which the ahead of time compilation, basically, it's going to take all your HTML templates and compile those templates to JavaScript, and then they are going to interpret those JavaScript, those templates in JavaScript, and release a bundle size super minimal. And
this is another point that you answered me before I made you the question. So.
Yeah.
So.
And the code that is generated by the ahead of time compilation, it's interpreted almost instantly by the virtual machine, by the JavaScript virtual machine. So that makes your app super fast to bootstrap. I mean, we are talking about an application that has a lot of JavaScript with, 200 kilobytes of application, 300 kilobytes, 500 kilobytes that can start up in less than a second or 1 second or less than 2 seconds.
I read that Angular. I thought that Angular and the bundle of Angular and RxJS.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like 800 kilobytes out of the box. And it's like,
yeah, but if you use tree shaking and the ahead of time compilation, you can have that in 25 kilobytes.
Well, it's pretty amazing. Yeah. Okay, move on. Meteor, okay, we understand. It is a little out of this debate, but it's actually an interesting point about, we want to hear about Meteor because it's an option that you can start developing all that Angular things or React things. I don't think Ember is included in this bundle because there is documentation for Blaze, Angular, and React. But you can use Meteor as a platform to serve that front-end applications and with the same code actually because it's training models and that stuff. To go all this thing in Meteor, right? So can you talk a little bit about Meteor?
I have to say, whenever I've worked with Meteor, I've always used Blaze.
Yeah.
So if you have questions regarding how to use Meteor with React or Angular, I'm going to let you down. I'm sorry. But I think it's a really good idea that they and whoever came up with this idea was very smart because Blaze, it's very easy to start with Meteor, which is cool, and once you want to do more complicated things, you right away realize Blaze is a bit limited. So I think having the possibility of using React or Angular 2 is really good because if you already have experience with those and you can take advantage of the good things of Meteor, it's a win-win, I think. Having said that, I think the best feature of Meteor is the real-time, the data synchronization.
Yeah, because it does it on sockets, right?
Yes. Well, that's there's one good thing about it and one not so good thing about it is that it's out of the box. It comes. You work with MongoDB, Mongo databases, but I know it's not impossible, but it's super difficult to work with any other type of databases. I think it's even a bad idea to even try, and also why would you if it's so easy to use Mongo, right?
Because it's Mongo.
If we talk about databases, I always ask people, why would you use Mongo? Indeed, because SQL, it just works. Why would you use anything other than SQL?
That's unraveling another debate. Yeah. Sorry.
SQL versus no SQL.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I prefer serverless.
Serverless. Okay. I don't know.
Also, after using Meteor for a while, not so much actually, but I mean, I have more experience with Angular, I have to say.
I will ask you about Angular and React right now,
but I think there are many good things about Meteor also. That it's a platform that allows you to do front end and back end both in JavaScript because it's based on Node.js, and so that's good that your whole team of developers they only need to know JavaScript, but at the same time, they are a bit coupled, front end and back end. So it's also not so easy to isolate teams. Like you could have a team working on an API in a very different language, but in this case, it's not so easy. And also, from my experience, I think there are really not so many scenarios where I'd recommend using Meteor, because if you don't really need real time. If you don't really need your changes being pushed to the client as a necessity, it may be a burden to use Meteor. And so the first Meteor application that I built was a challenge that I had myself.
A side project.
Yeah, it was a side project, but it was also depending on bonus in my previous company, so I was really interested to.
Nice motivation.
Yeah, but also I thought, okay, if I'm gonna get a bonus for something, at least let's do something that I really want to do at home, and that I can have fun doing it. So I thought, what could be the best use case for such an application? And I think it's games. Really, it's games. Because you need to have that real-time, fast data synchronization.
Yeah.
And so it was a sort of board game made web application. Which another good thing of Meteor is that you can easily create a smartphone application with the same code base. You can build for web, you can build for iOS, and you can build for Android. It's integrated with Cordova, Apache Cordova. Okay. I myself didn't get to that phase of my project to build it for Android, but I made it responsive, so I could use the web app on the phone.
It's fastest.
And it was on the first time we used it in my company. We had this presentation. It was a group of 20 people, and we played it's a werewolves game. I don't know if you may know it. It's a board game, actually. You play with cards. And everyone was surprised at how fast it was, and it's for sure. And it was only 20 people in the world playing it at the same time. But it's super cool, and it didn't take me long. I did it in 2 weeks. and I've kept improving it.
Yeah, yeah. This is one of the good points of Meteor. I mean, bootstrapping. If you need to bootstrap something, it's like if you're doing it with Meteor, you're going. I mean, yeah, blazing fast. Yeah. No, I didn't prepare that. No, but it's like you're going so fast, bootstrapping this. But okay, if you're going in production mode and you need to have high availability, I think sockets are too expensive. Right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think it used to be a bigger issue in the past. I haven't been using Meteor in the last few months, and I'm actually not sure what version they are currently in, but I know it used to be a big issue to scale. But nowadays, there are some tools, like there's one that's very popular that's named Cluster, that allows you to do horizontal scaling easily. By adding machines, you know.
Yeah.
And that's not an issue anymore. But.
Oh, this is nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I think that wouldn't be a reason not to try Meteor anymore, because I know that was whenever you look on Google, most articles of people asking, should I use Meteor? They are worried about that.
Yeah,
that's their biggest worry.
Sockets are fucking expensive, so I'm not going to.
And also, that's also one good thing of Meteor. Like when you start, it's easy to get things done. But when you want to improve performance, you have to really go into detail, tweaking the configuration of your collection so that you don't impact performance.
Okay.
But yeah, it's fun.
So I want to ask you about those frameworks that you work with, Angular, which I think it's your preferred, and React, which is the one that you're working with. Yeah. So it's a very good story for you. Yeah. So do you have anything to add on what those guys say about Angular or React?
Yeah, there are. What I like Angular for reasons that I also like React on the opposite side, which is kind of crazy. But I like Angular very much. When I started with Angular 1, and it was like I get all I need from Angular alone, and obviously I can download packages, third-party libraries, but with the bare Angular package, I have all I need. I have routing, I have templating, I have.
It's all outside the box.
Yeah, and for someone that doesn't want to spend so much time researching which tools I should use, that's great. But then, if you are the kind of person that doesn't want to be so tight, and so your hands tight.
Yeah, actually,
it's like I want to choose my own packages, so that's also cool for React.
I heard about it a lot, but I don't heard about the name opinionated versus unopinionated. Okay, which is one of the topics that split this debate a lot. It's like Angular and Ember are very opinionated. This means that the frameworks tell you how to develop your application. Okay, they are telling you the way to do it. Do you want to do routing? This is the way to do it. And React, by the other way, is very unopinionated. And it's like, you want to do routing? Okay, do it yourself. And it's like, or find something that you want, some library that you want to.
So yeah, I think it's a really valid point, and it's actually, this is why I complain that we only talk about the good things. So I didn't talk about this, for instance. I think this is more political or philosophical, and Which is really weird because, for instance, I'm a Rails guy on the back end. I want the decisions to be made, but on the front end, I really like to choose my my dishes. So I think in the end, and you can find this in any technology, there's always this dichotomy of the people that don't want to make a decision and the people that do want to make a decision. So React aligns more with the Unix philosophy of the right tool for the right job. The only thing is that you spend a lot of time to figuring out which tool is what, but that's the only thing. So I do agree React takes quite a lot of time, and the learning curve is really steep because of that, because you have to assemble your stack. But then the good thing, if there is, or if people value it, is that you can actually assemble the right stack. So for instance, when I was starting Factorial, I really wanted to have typing, like incremental typing. So basically I had two choices, TypeScript and Flow at the moment. So Angular, for instance, comes with TypeScript, which I think is great. But at the moment, they didn't have nullable types. Now they do. And for me, that was something that I really wanted. So I was really grateful that in React, I could choose to use these and so on. So I think it depends on the kind of person and who you are and what you want. So for instance, in my opinion, in the backend, I prefer my decisions to be taken. In the frontend, I want to take my decisions and choose what I like most. Okay. At the expense of the time.
No, this is mainly a problem from React because...
a problem and an advantage.
No, or an advantage. I mean, yeah, but actually, the adoption of React, it's very, I think, no, it's not low.
Not at all.
This is not the word, but it's less than it has to be because of this thing. Because some developers want to, some guides to do something.
We have Dan Avramov. That's a good thing. And the fun voice.
Yes. No, I will. Okay, we will talk about the evangelists later because in React we have Dan Avramov, but in Angular we have.
Raul?
Really? No.
You're not. Okay. No. In Angular, which one is the evangelist of Angular?
One is the Dan Avramov of Angular.
Igor Miner or Misko Hevery.
Yeah, okay, I will. No,
but they are the creators. They are not.
It's a very personal choice, but I would say John Papa is one of the creators of the design styles of how to do things on Angular.
Yeah, well, John Papa created the Angular style guide.
Yeah.
Okay, which is pretty similar to what there is something similar in React which is from Airbnb.
Yes.
Which is the Airbnb React style guide. So John Papa wrote something like that, and a lot of people following it. I like that the style guide. I don't follow all the rules, but I think that it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a good starting point. It's like, I mean, for me, it's like. It's not the same, but this is why I'm talking about those guys, Dan Avramov and this guy at the same time. But John Papa hasn't done something like Redux, like Dan Avramov did, and obviously Dan was hired by the Facebook React core team because of obvious reasons. Okay, but it's like I put them in the same page because it's the guy that you go to, because Dan Avramov created Redux, but one of the most things you do or you take from Dan Avramov is the style guide and the patterns about the presentational, this famous article about presentational containers versus presentational component versus container components, and it's the same as John Papa. This is why I talk about them together. So it's like kind of style guide. So yeah, I'm sorry, I was talking about...
Yeah, I would say like in terms of the choice, I think to wrap up, and maybe you see it differently, but I think on one end of the spectrum there's React, where it's Unix philosophy, like you choose the tools, you assemble, it's your job to figure out, which is hard, but can be rewarding. I think the opposite side is Ember, where actually everything is chosen for you, so you spend zero time choosing. If you want to switch something or change something, I mean, it's like in Rails. There's a Rails way, and it's not I mean, I think it's from
Yehuda.
Yeah.
It's the front end on Rails.
Yes, exactly.
They say it's the Ruby on Rails of front end.
And I think Angular, maybe I'm mistaken because I haven't worked much with it. It's probably something in between. Because I heard you can switch off the two-way binding, you can use different state management tools, and so on. So it's a little bit like you get everything included, but you can still, if something you don't like, you can swap it out.
Yeah, you can change the two-way data binding to one-way data binding. You can choose that, for example, but it is basically convention over configuration, and
but it opens the door to configuration.
Yeah, you can tweak a few small things, not too much, but yeah, you can tweak a small thing.
So I read it yesterday. I was googling React versus Angular. So.
I think we were all in the same thread. So.
And while Ember it chooses everything for you, I've actually read on the internet as well some guys that switched Ember Data, which is like the data flow library for Ember, and they switched it to Redux actually. So it's also possible, but I very much prefer my decisions made for me. Yeah, because I'm not sure.
Oh my gosh, I don't know how it's called.
No, but I'm not sure if this should be part of the debate. But if you ask me which single page or do you want to build a single page application, or which front end framework should you choose, then I always say, should we use a front end framework? Really? Should you use one? Okay. No, seriously, because I know like probably 10% of the people here, or maybe more, I don't know, they're developing an app completely on Rails, server rendered HTML, it works completely fine, you're driving the business value, it's going great, and then all of a sudden there's this crazy developer in your team, he wants to start using React, and I'm like, dude, why? Like, why? And I had the same thing when we started using Ember. I was like, why? Really, I know your UX will be a lot better. There are a lot of like pros, but do all applications really need a single page app?
If I can interfere.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I have to do as less as possible. Okay, so.
Okay, that's good because I like the mic.
Less work as possible. I'm here to keep it, and that's it.
So that's a really good point, and I agree with you. Although I've been for the last 6 years, I've been doing single web applications, so I failed to resist the temptation. Like recently, when starting a new company, designing the stack, one of the things I also asked myself is about mobile development, and I think that's something we probably could touch about the frameworks here present. So basically, when you start a small company, if you have to decide to hire developers. If you want to go 3 platforms, which is web, Android, and iOS, it can be really, really expensive. So one of the decisions for me to choose React also was like, eventually, when we want to launch the mobile application, will I be able to use the people that have the skills for building the web application to do the mobile application? And that was a really big selling point for me. Because having, usually in my experience, iOS and Java, like Java Android developers, they are not so willing to change. So for me, like having a core of JavaScript, which was a point about Meteor, about having them on the front end and the back end. So for me, it's like to have the JavaScript developers ruling the front ends, it was really important. So I don't know if, how does Ember and Angular deal with mobile?
Yeah,
if they do.
This is a question I have because now, okay, I know one of the pros of React. Actually, it's not React itself; it's React Native, which is we have to know that it's a different thing. Okay, this is the first thing we have to know at first. React is not the same as React Native, but they follow the same basis. Okay? So, but it's completely native. Okay, finally it renders to a native thing. So for Ember. I didn't know about it. I know about Angular.
There's nothing on Ember like that?
I think I heard actually, there's a guy in Kipu that told me something about mobile. I don't know. I think there's something in Ember, no?
Ember Desktop. Yeah. Ember Desktop is for desktop applications, but it's written in Ember. Okay.
I've never really found, or actually I've never really looked for it, but there might be something, but not as popular as React Native. And one of my points in the next 10 minutes was gonna be, I think, React. If you have to choose one winner, I think it's gonna be React.
Vamos.
because it's super hyped right now. It reminds me a bit of Rails, maybe 10 years ago or something. But also,
there's another discussion of hype. Hype is
no.
It
It attracts people. Hype attracts people. There are a lot of good things about React, and I think the strongest thing is React Native. Amazing job by Facebook what they did. I've never used it in production. I've dabbled a bit in it in React Native, but I don't know. I don't know of any alternative in Ember really. I told you the LinkedIn mobile website was in Ember, but obviously that's not an app. So I don't know. React Native has a pretty strong advantage there, in my opinion.